It is Tuesday, June 11th, 2019. And this is the Pro and Con Show, and I'm your host, Michael James Ott. How about that? So, try to do this show live at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Don't always get there, but try to do that. Most nights, I have to say that yesterday, June 10th, just wasn't feeling it. So for the first time in many days, no show yesterday, June 10th. But today, I want to cover, as we try to cover all the time, right? The intent of the show is to try to talk about just the facts, right? The who, the what, the why, the when. And try to point out how bias is in some of the various channels of information that we're looking at, right? So I normally look at left-leaning ones and right-leaning ones. So just to run through that, so Huffington Post, and then CNN, and then NPR generally. Kind of consider it to be mostly unbiased, and then Fox News, and then Breitbart. And it's especially relative to politics and politicians. These various websites, they're actually pretty obvious if you stand back for a moment and just look at it, right? So, for example, I'm looking at the front page or the main page of the Breitbart website. And every Democrat that's on here, and primarily Joe Biden, because he's the most significant, at least at the moment, adversary of Mr. Trump for the presidency in 2020. So he's in here, and of course, Mr. Biden made an announcement today in a campaign speech that if he's elected, he's going to try to cure cancer, which and appreciably more than what's been done up to this point. In other words, he's going to put a major emphasis on it from a funding standpoint. People have been working for decades and decades to try to cure cancer, and we've made some good progress. But there's still a long way to go. But, whoa, Joe. And then if you look so Radical Buttigieg, okay. Floppy Joe switches tracks on China. These are the headlines. Trump says, Sleepy Joe reminding me of Crooked Hillary. Axelrod says, Joe looked awkward in shambling week for campaign. Now, Mr. Trump, the only time that he is mentioned on this first page, well, he's mentioned a couple of times. So it just says Donald Trump. It doesn't say blowhard Donald Trump or con man Donald Trump, although that actually is a factual thing. Lying Donald Trump or whatever. This is the kinds of things that would apply on you'd find on the Huffington Post website. So I just wanted to point that out. And those are some of the headlines on Breitbart. So again, the inflammatory language, and attaching, and name calling and that kind of stuff, especially in a fairly consistent way. For kind of one political party or the other. It's kind of an obvious clue that there's a fair amount of bias in this. Let's see here. I don't think there was anything on Fox News that I wanted to talk about, touch base on, but I did want to talk about, so here's there's a story on NPR, and it says, news publishers say the tech industry poses a potentially existential threat to the media. So a House Judiciary Subcommittee is hearing from publishers as it looks at ways to curb big tech's power. So this is something that, just to mention a couple of things on this. So through the miracle of the internet, so I'm, if you're watching this, you're probably watching it through the miracle of the internet, and the transport of information has basically become almost free. But the problem is that it's really easy to this economy of scale thing. And so on the retail side, for example, Amazon started from the beginning that they intended to be the single retailer on the planet, basically. And so they have this brand, or this internet-enabled scheme, internet and logistics enabled scheme. And the more and more that you and I become comfortable with just looking at videos and pictures of products and buying them, then the more empowered Amazon is to be able to sell that to you. And the other part of it is that they are so aggressive and can remain so aggressive because they just have done everything at the cost of gaining the capability. So they lost money for years and years and years, and their shareholders supported this because the business model basically said we need to keep growing until there is one Amazon to rule them all. And on the surface it might not look so bad because, for example, a small retailer can actually easily open a store on Amazon, and they make that pretty easy to do. And so that's a positive thing. So someone, for example, if I wanted to, I could open up an internet store and sell products. Maybe I manufacture, or maybe I make art, or whatever it is, and I would sell that through Amazon. I can do that, and they will enable it. But the issue is that they also know everything about my business because they know exactly what I'm shipping and what I'm telling customers and everything like that, and my pricing structure, and they know everything. And so if maybe a particular product line of mine starts becoming very popular, well, Amazon then can decide to replicate that product line in some way. Or maybe I'm contracting a manufacturer to make it for me and then selling it through Amazon. Well, they can figure out who my contract manufacturers are and make those products and bypass me and basically effectively put me out of business or greatly harm it. And then the same thing with information. So Google, everyone's, it's slang now. It's actually, part of our language. I'm going to Google it, and so there's this search engine, and so much more now. I mean, Alphabet is the parent company, but basically finding information and providing information, and then charging some advertising on the side. So they basically are, all the different retailers, since people are looking at Google to try to find information, they advertise. And Google makes money in various ways through all that advertising, and it just keeps expanding. And because of, the fundamental thing of the internet, the one who has all the information has all the power. And again, Google knows, because when you are searching for something or whatever, it knows who you are, it knows where you are, it can put together how old you are. It can understand, what you like and dislike, and on and on and on. And so therefore, and by the way, redirect and control what information comes to you. That's one of the big problems that we have, and one of the reasons why I do this show is because trying to make sure that people see more than just the one side of the information that comes to them. We've got to look at these issues in a more holistic way, and appreciate that there are pros and cons, good and bad, for and against, and not just something that's sided toward our particular view, which is a big tendency in the current way that the internet works. So yeah, this is a big problem, and the normal methods, so we had legislation that, for example, there's to avoid monopolies. So there was the Sherman Act, I think it was, or something like that. But anyway, back in the day, railroads were a natural monopoly. There's been other, the telephone service, so AT&T had to get broken up, and so on, because there's these natural monopolies that can come about, and basically Google and Amazon are a couple of them in today's world, but it's a different thing. The business models are different, and so some of the criteria that we used to use to decide what we should do about companies that are getting too big don't apply, and so therefore with the current laws, the regulations don't come into play. So we've got to figure out, I think, well, the thing I know for sure is we definitely need to examine this very closely and understand the pros and the cons, the good and the bad, the for and against of either allowing the Googles and Amazons of the world to continue to grow without regulation, or to bring them underneath some kind of regulated umbrella. And then let's see here. Just on the lighter side, I came across this on the Huffington Post, and they had links to let's see here, where did this come from? It's important that you know where the information comes from here. So the Social Security Administration, that's right. So of course, as children are born, their parents get them Social Security numbers, and so the Social Security Administration actually knows the most popular, or the names of popular names in for boys and girls as they're born in state by state. So I just thought this was kind of cool. So I'm gonna here's the most popular baby names of 2018. So I'm gonna throw this up on the screen so you can see it, and you can pause the video or whatever if you want to see those names yourself. So really interesting. So Olivia, Emma, Ava, really interesting. And there's kind of like bands of these names and that are the most popular. And so I see Olivia, Ava, Emma, and I can't help but wonder, why. And maybe there's movie stars or something at the moment. I don't know. But anyway, where I live in Wisconsin, Evelyn. Okay, Evelyn is the most popular girl's name from last year. And also funny because in Maine, Charlotte. Now, Maine is all off by itself, and Alaska is Aurora. So there's a couple of states that are just kind of, okay, we're going to have our own. Everyone else is like pretty much Emma and Ava and so on. But Okay, and then boys, yeah, throw this up here. So boys, Liam is a big hit. William in the southeast. Oliver in a fair number of states. Oliver. So Liam, I'd have to say Liam Neeson. He's a famous actor. I guess people are picking up on that. Oliver. I don't know. But that's Oliver is the most popular name in my state of Wisconsin last year, according to the Social Security Administration. So there you go. So a little bit of a lighter side kind of thing. It's just the facts, who, what, where, and when. The Social Security Administration's publishing the data that talks about the names of boys and girls from last year. Okay, so we're out of time for today. Today, Tuesday, June 11th, 2019. This has been the Pro and Con Show. I'm your host, Michael James Ott. I hope each and every one of you have a great, great evening, no matter where you are. And I look forward to talking to you soon. Bye for now.